All right, so we are in the Summer Game Fest festivities. We're in the season to be summer gaming. And listen, man, whenever I do my Summer Game Fest predictions and whenever I do my PlayStation State of Play predictions and all that, there's going to be some sort of restriction, some sort of restraint that I have to use when making those predictions. I can't get all crazy and shoot for the stars because those shows typically aren't all that great. And so when I'm putting together the predictions list, I can't lie. Sometimes it's a little bit on the, I don't want to say boring, but just, you're being you're trying to be as conservative as possible with the type of games you're expecting to see there. So for this list, we're throwing all that shit out the window and we're just going straight to fun. We're going straight to dream territory. If you could dream up any scenario for 10 games to appear during this Summer Game Fest season, rather it be at a State of Play, a Summer Game Fest showcase, an Xbox showcase, wherever, 10 games, any 10 games. You can pick whatever you want. Which 10 games would you most want to see your 10 dream reveals for Summer Game Fest 2025? No holds bars, no restrictions. Let's get into it. So for me, and if y'all like this, let me know, and I can make this like a ongoing series. I can do it for the Game Awards, and we can have a predictions that's more reasonable, and then we can have a dream reveal. I can put together a new list of 10 with each showcase, with each upcoming showcase. I can throw together, because this is, not to keep rambling, but this is my shit, man. That, like, as you get older and bitter and jaded and all this, that, and the other, the one thing that truly brings like that youthful sort of energy back to my soul is this period, the Summer Game Fest, the E3, the Game Awards, and just that moment when you see that big reveal, that holy shit moment, that one thing that you did not expect, and then it shows up and it's like, I've said this, I've made this comparison 100 times, so I apologize for the redundancy. When you're doing the old content creation for a few years, you start realizing how much you repeat the same shit over and over. But I liken this showcases and game reveal events to the Royal Rumble in wrestling, where as it's counting down, 10, 9, and when it's 3, 2, 1, and that whenever that next person hits the ramp or the music hits, and it's not even necessarily about it's about what your mind is doing, the tricks your mind is playing. Your mind is building it up to be something so much bigger than it is, and that's so fucking exciting. So I guess what I'm saying is I hope this video does well, because this territory where we start talking about the dreams and the wishes, that's really where I find the most enjoyment. I don't like being realistic with these shows. I like getting into crazy territory. I know most of this shit's not going to happen, if any of it, but probably none of it. But it's fun to dream. All right, so first up on the docket at number 10, and this is in really no particular order, but I'm going to go with LA Noire 2, or just something noir, some new noir game from Rockstar, published by Rockstar. I know that they recently bought the studio behind the VR, the LA Noire VR game, and the re-release of LA Noire on PS4 and Switch, I believe. So listen, if we're being realistic, I would assume that this means they probably bought that studio to port, GTA 4 and RDR2, and I imagine that they bought that studio to port games to the PlayStation 5, even like a Bully, porting that to the PS5, which, don't get me wrong, there's some kind of dream announcements within dream announcements in this prediction here. I would love to see a Bully ported to PS5, like getting a physical edition of Bully on PS5, getting a physical edition of GTA 4 on PS5. That would be sick as hell. So I am not ruling that out of the wish, but the big wish, man, LA Noire was such a cool concept, and I think as technology has evolved, it would be like you could actually, and then don't get me wrong, the facial animations were great in that game. They were a little bit over-exaggerated and ridiculous at times, but I think you actually could notice, like, I remember playing Horizon Forbidden West and seeing subtle changes in facial animations that would kind of indicate the emotional state of the person I was speaking to at the time. And yeah, I don't know. Give me a damn LA Noir, but in Vegas or London or wherever. And I would be a very, very happy camper. Number 9, The Witcher 4. So I think this is kind of beyond a dream because we're seeing like CDPR is so open with all of the development states that the games kind of, they're pretty open with the progression that each game is making through development, and they're still very, very early in on The Witcher 4. So I don't think we'll see it until probably 2026, 2027. And then who knows when it's going to release. But I would love to be wrong because, for one, I want to play The Witcher 4, of course. But for two, that would indicate that Cyberpunk 2 is even further along than we're expecting, which I know this is crazy. I like The Witcher 3 more than I like Cyberpunk, but I think I'm more excited for Cyberpunk 2 than The Witcher 4. That doesn't make any sense. But I think there's just more. I'm trying to rationalize this in real time. Why do I feel this way? I think it might be because I think maybe it's because, like, it feels like the sky's the limit with Cyberpunk. And I know exactly what The Witcher 4 is going to be, and I'm so excited for it. But Cyberpunk could be, by the time Phantom Liberty came out, it was a totally different game. Just a DLC. So giving them another 10 years plus, probably 15 years to see what the next Cyberpunk is like. I don't know. My mind just kind of runs wild with what Cyberpunk 2 could possibly be. Number 8, I'm going to go with Control 2. So, obviously FBC Firebreak is in the works right now. We'll probably see some more information on Firebreak, but I just think Control is Remedy's best game. In terms of moment-to-moment gameplay, I think it is their best game they've ever made by a country mile, man. Early Max Payne's, once again, in terms of innovation, in terms of the probably the most influential game they've ever made, that would be Max Payne. But just the one I like to play the most, the gameplay that I find the most addictive, Control rules, dude. It's so fun to play, and I love that idea of having more RPG systems in Control 2 and hopefully a better map and then a little bit more, just some of those small quality of life touch-ups I think will go a long way for Control 2. I cannot wait to check that out. Number 7, I gotta go with Parasite Eve, a remake to Parasite Eve 1. Square Enix, we know that old Square is known for sitting on a bunch of IP that people want and doing absolutely nothing with them, which, they only have so much bandwidth. I understand that, but man, there's a lot of teams out there. Call you up a Virtuous, call you up a Night Dive, form your own remaster, remake style studio. You're looking at Chrono Trigger and Sleeping Dogs, and for decades Legacy of Kain lay dormant. There's so much in their portfolio. They have so much history, and Parasite Eve just seems like such an obvious one with the Resident Evil, the renaissance of Resident Evil, and right now we're in this nice period where there is no Resident Evil, so can you kind of get in where you fit in and steal some of that market? I don't know, I just think of so many cool ways that a Parasite Eve remake could play out. And listen, I'd be fine with a remaster, like I said, a Night Dive or a Virtuous, and just getting a touch-up. Just releasing Parasite Eve for modern platforms so we can play it on our PlayStation 5, on our Switch 2, on our Xbox. That would be magnificent. And from Square Enix-owned IP to ex-Square Enix-owned talent, let's talk a little bit about IO Interactive. They are on the big board. Whenever Keighley put out the 60 teams and 60 publishers that will be at Summer Game Fest, IO Interactive is on there. But IO Interactive is also publishing Mind's Eye, so I think that we won't be seeing 007, and we'll probably be... I don't know. This is the one on here that I feel like has the highest likelihood of showing up. So this kind of feels like somewhat of a dream and also somewhat me hopefully speaking this into existence, man. I really want to see that 007 game. I really want to see, because I have so many questions. Is it just going to be Hitman with a James Bond skin on it? Because I think that would satisfy a lot of people. And I think even I would be like, yeah, sure, fuck it. I'll jump into that. That'll be really fun. But the dream, I hope they create a more, because I was just watching Mission Impossible, you know, the new Mission Impossible movie, which is absolutely insane, man. It's so damn expensive. You know, you hear all this stuff, not to go on a full rant of, we gotta save theaters, we gotta make sure people are going to the theaters. And it's like, dude, 2 tickets, a bucket of popcorn, a couple snacks, you're talking about $100. It's no shit the theaters aren't doing so hot right now. Although I will say there were quite a few people in there to watch Mission Impossible. Tom Cruise, he puts asses in seats, and so does James Bond. Back to the point. But I think when I was watching Mission Impossible, there were so many cool action set pieces, and I know James Bond isn't as over-the-top action-oriented as Mission Impossible, but there's a lot of cool shit in there. Motorcycles and chasing motherfuckers on a boat and all this kind of cool, sort of suave, you know, spy shit going on. And you're charismatic and you're fun and there's a real, like, significant story playing out. So I have questions if I was going to be able to pull all of that off, and I really fucking hope so. I really hope so. I don't want it to be just Hitman with a James Bond skin on it. Although I'd still play it, but the dream is a little bit removed from just that. And let's kind of keep right there in that direction, and let's talk Splinter Cell. I don't know if y'all saw it, but Ubisoft they did what Ubisoft does. They tweeted out a photo of Mr. Sam Fisher right before Summer Game Fest season. And it just said Splinter Cell in the tweet. And it's like, dude, don't do this. Is this just to generate some buzz and we're not going to see anything more of Splinter Cell for years and years to come, just like you've been dangling the Beyond Good and Evil 2 carrot, which you can throw that way. Hey, hopefully this video does well, and Beyond Good and Evil 2 will be in the next one. Spoilers for the Game Awards 2025 reveal wish list. Listen, man, Splinter Cell needs to come back. It's an IP that there's so much, just in terms of, like, you look at the Assassin's Creed Shadows tech and the going prone, and like there's some cool shit that they're doing with lighting and cool shit that like really leans into the stealth element so well. And even Watch Dogs 2 did stealth really well. So, you know, when you think about some of the hacking technology that you could kind of rationalize in a 2025 Splinter Cell game, or probably 2028 by then, but Splinter Cell needs to come back, man. Wolverine is something that also needs to come back. It's been 4 years since we saw the reveal for Wolverine, Insomniac's Wolverine, and once again, this is actually very, very similar, where I just have so many questions. Insomniac, great with their Spider-Man formula, no doubt. But Spider-Man is such a different beast than old Wolvie. And Wolverine is so much darker, so much grittier. I want to see that M rating. I want to see gore. I want to see limb dismemberment. I want to see, kind of staying right there on that theme, hopping on a damn motorcycle. I want to see some vehicle interaction. And if you are going to make it more linear, then do it like for real. Really go into that and make each level super badass, kind of, you know, 360 X-Men Origins Wolverine, 360 style gameplay. I don't necessarily need Wolverine to be open world, but if it is, man, you gotta let me hop on a damn motorcycle, steal Cyclops' motorcycle, ride around, get up to some shenanigans as Wolverine, go to the bar, have a drink, get into an MMA fight, into an MMA tournament, you know, get a bunch of money, go take old Jean Grey out on a date, piss Cyclops off, get into a fight back at the old X Manor. Just let's have fun, man. Let's have fun. Wolverine, Really, the dream game is a full-on X-Men game. I can't wait to see that, but I know obviously we got to get to Wolverine first, so I'm trying to be somewhat realistic, even though this is just a dreams prediction list thing. Here's a big dog, and I really, I say that there's no order to this, but I do think these top three are my top three, and I don't know, this actually kind of all landed in somewhat of an order, so this actually might be just straight up my top 10. Number 3, it's got to go to Knights of the Old Republic, the remake of Knights of the Old Republic. KOTOR, I got to see. Saber has been very vague about, they've been like, obviously we're still working on it, but really kind of, I don't know, aggressive towards that line of questioning about KOTOR, so that makes me a little bit worried, but I trust Saber with Space Marine 2 was absolutely excellent. They have a huge team over there working on a bunch of different games. We could have threw Jurassic Park into this mix, or Avatar into this mix, or, obviously the Space Marine 3. Like, they have a lot of irons in the fire, but KOTOR is what I really want to see, man. A more action-oriented Knights of the Old Republic remake, and this is one that I can't even necessarily expand on all that much. I loved my time with Knights of the Old Republic, the original, but I just want to see gameplay updated on it. The story is so good. The characters are so good. It's such an interesting world, but it's just really dated from a gameplay standpoint. So that's all I really need on it. I've talked about it before, but like, you throw me like some Technomancer style gameplay from Spiders in there, and I'll be happy with that. Like, it doesn't have to be the most remarkable gameplay I've ever seen in my life. I just want to get into that story with a slightly more action oriented. I mean, dude, some fucking Expedition 33 inspired combat in there. Hell yeah, sign me up for that. So this next one on the board, number 2, is probably the most batshit and most unlikely, but at the same time, this is a game that has been confirmed. A WWE RPG was confirmed a long time ago, and nothing came to fruition with that. And I don't know, like a WWE full-blown RPG, and you see a little bit of remnants of that in the 2K25 career mode, or the My Rise mode, where it's super choice-oriented, and you're making a ton of decisions, and they really do have impact, and in branching paths that you can go down, and entirely different scenes that you'll see play out depending on your choices. But I don't think that was the game that they were talking. I think they were talking about a full-blown WWE RPG. And like, there's just, my mind goes in a million different directions with what that could be. And the fact that it was confirmed, but we know nothing other than that, it's like, I gotta see that at some point. I'm assuming it's been canceled by now, but is it like a WrestleQuest style RPG? Are you taking classic wrestlers from the past and going on this crazy, fantastical journey? Is it just straight up like a full-blown 20, 25-hour, 30-hour style, WWE 2K, you're in the ring, but it's a more directed, handcrafted story that has full-on cinematics? And are you really trying to lean into because they're opening up the a lot of the behind-the-scenes shit and kind of pulling the curtain back and allowing the fans access to, they have that new Netflix show that's really like revealing the full 2024 build up to WrestleMania. And so I wondered, is there any world where they do that in the game space as well? And like, is that the thing? Is it a full blown general manager style RPG? Are you playing as Triple H and doing all the booking? Like, this could go a million different directions. RPG means a million different things in 2025. So yeah, the curiosity is off the charts for that one. But number 1, I can't, this has to be my number 1 pick. It'll always be my number 1 pick, despite how skeptical I am of my number 1 pick. The Wolf Among Us 2. The Wolf Among Us 1, tell me if you've heard this story before. The Wolf Among Us 1 got me back into games. I've said this a million times on the channel. I apologize to the frequent flyers. Listen, man, it got me back into games. I have so much appreciation for that game. I think that story is fucking fantastic. And it's like, dude, it's been over a decade. And like, it shouldn't have been this long. I love The Wolf Among Us. It's awesome, but we shouldn't be waiting a decade for a follow-up. And there's definitely a part of me where it's like, this is never going to happen. We're never going to see this thing. But if we're talking dreams, if we're talking wishes, if we're talking hopes, if we're talking everything other than predictions, The Wolf Among Us 2 has to top that list. So yeah, man, those are my top 10 dream game reveals at old Summer Game Fest 2025. Let me know down in the comments below. What are your dream game reveals? If you could pick anything, absolutely anything could be revealed, which 10 games would you pick to see on the stage? Let me know in the comments below, and I shall see you good people in the next video. Take it easy, guys. Goodbye.